The archaeologists in England looked down at the ground and were shocked by what they saw. They've been working on a huge project for years, and now it looks like their hard work has paid off. In the dirt beneath their feet, a set of haunting figures look up at them. This is a sight that will stay with them forever. Archaeologists found Roman statues with some strange details. These archaeologists were called in after a new rail line was approved. The HS2 route will connect London to cities in the north of England. Problems and controversies have plagued the project, but plans have been made. Rewritten spending has been higher than expected and strong opposition to the project has grown. It would be a stretch to say that the HS2 project has gone smoothly, but one group may have benefited because the rail line will go through large areas of English land. Archaeologists were asked to dig up areas that might hold important artifacts before they were lost forever. In the end, the scale of these archaeological works was unlike anything that had ever been done before. Since 2018, more than 1,000 archaeologists have been working on this huge project, the largest single archaeological project ever to take place in the United Kingdom. Regarding the things found during the HS2 digs, let's start in 2017 when archaeologists were looking around Euston Railway Station in London. The HS2 project was still in its early stages back then, but the experts still found some pretty cool things that were a sign of things to come. For example, they found 2 time capsules that Victorian people had put there 140 years ago. The remains of a person who was very important in history were found. Captain Matthew Flinders was the first person to lead an expedition around the whole landmass of Australia. He even used the country's name in his writing, which helped it stick. After he died in 1814, the explorer was buried in St. James Gardens, which became covered by Euston Station. His body wasn't found until archaeologists found it in 2017, and everyone thought he'd been lost forever. One of the most interesting HS2 discoveries was made in a place called Wendover, where archaeologists found a 2,000-year-old skeleton in the ground. This is interesting in and of itself, but what caught the experts' attention was how this ancient man was found. His face was pressed against the ground, and his hands were tied together. Had he been murdered? Archaeologist Rachel Wood seems to think so. After the find, she said, "The death of the Welwick Farm man remains a mystery to us, but there aren't many ways you can end up face down in a ditch with your hands tied. We hope our experts can shed more light on this potentially gruesome death in the same place where the tied-up man was found." Archaeologists also dug up what looked like a Neolithic monument similar to Stonehenge. They also found a Roman burial site. Archaeological projects showed how much is at stake with the work since there is so much to find. Illustrated in a village called Off Church, excavations occurred from June 2020 to November 2020. These works were split into 2 main areas of interest, the northern and southern sites, with 42 archaeologists working on both. It was a big job, but it paid off in the end. The project started before digging, thanks to fancy tools like a magnetometer. There were also wooden roundhouses that could have been used as homes. Based on what they saw at the southern site, archaeologists thought ancient field systems and roads were hidden. With that in mind, they started digging at the 2 sites, and sure enough, they found the structures that the magnetometer said would be there. The experts dated the buildings in the northern sector to the middle of the 13th century. The wider HS2 archaeology project continued until 2021, and the finds kept coming in war, which is a pretty big deal. A garden from the 1600s was found, showing what would have been a great place back then. Beds of flowers that used to be full of life and flowers could still be seen. It's thought that the fancy garden was built by Sir Robert Digby, who wanted to show off his wealth. He may have succeeded, as experts are now raving about how beautiful his garden is hundreds of years after he died. Garden expert Dr. Paul Stamper said, "This is one of the most exciting Elizabethan gardens ever found in this country." Archaeologists were working at a place called Three Bridge Mill when they saw something strange in the ground. It looked almost human, but they were relieved to find out it was made of wood. This wooden figurine was another artifact from the Roman era, But that was all the experts could tell at first. A few months later, a team was working at a site in Stoke Mandeville. As they looked into an old church from the Norman era, they saw some strange shapes in the ground. Like the things found at Three Bridge Mill, these looked like people, but they were statues of people. The bust of the child was just a head, but the heads of the two adults seemed to have been cut off on purpose. Why would someone go to such great lengths to decapitate some stone statues? Oddly enough, it's not the most unusual thing in the world. Archaeologists have found similarly defaced statues many times in the past. People seem to damage statues like this before they take them down. Dr. Wood said that finding these statues at the end of the dig is more than exciting. The statues are very well preserved, and you can see the faces of the people they show. It's a unique feeling to look into the faces of the past. This makes us wonder what else might be buried beneath England's medieval village churches. St. Mary's was built shortly after the Normans took control of England. St. Mary's Church underwent many changes before it was abandoned. There is evidence that it was renovated more than once in its history, which suggests that its purpose changed over time. When it was first built, it was probably used by a private person, like a local lord. Over time, it was built up and open to the public, but eventually, time took its toll on the building, and it became overgrown with plants. The carvings, on the other hand, may have been a kind of primitive sundial. Like many places along the HS2 route, this archaeological site shows how rich and strange England's history is. The experts think Stoke Mandeville was first used as a burial site during the Bronze Age. Later, it was used by people during the Roman era. In keeping with the burial traditions of the Bronze Age, the Romans seem to have built a building here that they used as a mausoleum. This building was eventually destroyed when the Normans took over the land and built St. Mary's Church. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe our channel.